handing in my name on the order paper.
Minister Baroness Vere of Norbiton.
My Lords, Insulate Britain's irresponsible actions have disrupted thousands of people's lives. National Highways estimate the impact on drivers from time lost during just 3 days of disruption total £559,946. This does not include the cost of missed appointments, disruption to manufacturing or retail, costs of managing the incidents, or the impact of disruption on other days. These costs would have been even higher without the prompt action by the police to remove protesters and free up traffic.
My Lords, according to the Observer at the weekend, Insulate Britain activists are baffled why they're not in jail already. They thought that their campaign would be over in 2 days rather than being allowed to go on for 5 weeks, and I think the rest of the country rather shares the bafflement. As they resume their campaign, their very expensive campaign of disrupting other people's, ordinary people's lives, can my noble friends say that the government both has and will deploy the necessary legal powers to bring them before a court of law?
We are investigating, of course, all possible legal avenues to bring these people to justice. National Highways and Transport for London have both rapidly put in place injunctions to deter these sort of dangerous actions. Only yesterday, the High Court granted National Highways an interim injunction banning activities that obstruct traffic and access on any part of the strategic road network. So that is all motorways and major A roads. Last Friday, National Highways applied for committal for contempt of court for 9 individuals suspected of breaching injunctions. If found to be in breach of the injunctions, these individuals could face an unlimited fine and or imprisonment.
Ridley.
My Lords, does my noble friend agree that what appears to have been a cunning plan by the secret society of evil net zero sceptics to get Insulate Britain to undermine the appeal of the Green movement was brilliantly executed, that it was a particular triumph to choose upper middle class twits to confront ordinary people trying to get to work or to school, that it was a stroke of genius to make sure that some of these people had not insulated their own homes, but that it is surprising the environmental movement has not yet seen through this stunt?
I cannot agree more with my noble friend.
Lord Davis of Brixton.
There's no doubt, my Lords, there's no doubt that the activities of the Insulate Britain campaign have caused problems and disruptions for many people. I guess that was the point. But would the noble Minister agree with me that these problems will come to be seen as trivial when compared to the disruption we will all face in our lives if we fail to address climate change?
Yeah.
This government has one of the strongest records in the world in tackling climate change, and what I would go back to say is I fear that using the word trivial in relation to this disruption is a really poor choice of words, because as Insulate Britain say themselves, days of disruption are necessary to force the government. This is just a small ragtag group of people. They will not be forcing the government to do anything.
My Lords, I'm sure most of your Lordship's House have been on demonstrations or protests during their life, even if they don't want to admit it now. But those demonstrations were different. The police were involved before the demonstration. The police looked to make sure the law wasn't broken. What we're seeing here are people who've gone out deliberately to obstruct the ordinary day life of people. Could you tell me, some of the demonstrators have said that they think that they're not being arrested and charged properly and ending up in prison because of the COP26 conference, that there is a kind of feeling that they don't want people to be in jail for anything vaguely to do with climate change. Could the noble lady, the Minister, confirm or deny that?
This has certainly nothing to do with COP26 at all, and that obviously certain matters are operational matters for the police. But the noble lady is absolutely right. We all know of good protests. Getting 1 million people out on the streets on a Saturday afternoon where you've told the police in advance you've got a good level of public support and you don't destroy any statues. That is a good protest. Insulate Britain are not good protesters.
Rosa.
Climate change is the major challenge of our time, and winning public support for the cause is critical, and blocking roads and antagonising people is not going to achieve that objective. This week, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan has significantly extended London's ultra-low emission zone. The Evening Standard yesterday said it backed Sadiq Khan in taking steps to clean up London's toxic air and cut carbon emissions in the process. Does the government also back Sadiq Khan on this, regarding it too as an effective example of how the ballot box can prove to be an effective way for people to respond to the climate crisis?
Well, as the noble Lord will know, we have probably a much closer relationship with the Mayor of London than we would ordinarily have at the moment, because although transport is devolved in London, owing to a substantial hole in the finances of TfL, it is indeed the case that we do have to provide them with quite significant funding every now and again. And indeed, part of the last deal that we agreed with the Mayor included that there would be no change to the extension of ULEZ.
My Lords, the laws already exist to deal with this matter, but the police are just not using their operational freedom to put them into effect. Could the police be advised that there would be a lot of public support if they were to use their influence, they were to arrest people, and a few of them could spend a few days in prison? It might put them off further action.
As I noted, that policing matters are an operational matter for the police, but I'm sure that the Metropolitan Police will have heard his wise words.
Lord Austin of Dudley. Not present. Baroness Jones of Moulscombe.
My Lords, as of March last year, the cost of road congestion in the UK was £7 billion, estimated at £784 per driver. Now, clearly, the government is irresponsible to let that congestion go ahead, and really ought to have a plan to reduce it, which doesn't involve building more roads, which actually will attract more traffic. And so, would the noble lady and the minister like to say something about that? Plus, Insulate Britain is right. Their tactics might be colossally difficult for us to cope with, but they are right that the government should be insulating the leakiest homes in Britain in council housing, rather than allowing those people to spend cold winters, be ill, and also emit endless CO2 emissions.
Well, I am just relieved that the noble lady did not stand up and agree with her fellow eco-warriors. It is indeed the case that, as I previously set out, this government has a very strong record on tackling climate change. And of course, I would point the noble lady to the Transport Decarbonisation Plan, published by the Department for Transport, which clearly sets out exactly how we intend to decarbonise our transport system.
My Lords, that concludes oral questions for today.